Hi, welcome to Funhouse. Today we're going to talk movies. We're going to do our quarterly report. Basically, I'm going to go over the movies I watched in the first quarter of the year. Now, I watched fewer movies than I did last year, largely because I moved this quarter pretty dramatically, and that took a lot of time. And then I just wasn't watching as many movies after I moved as I normally would, but I've been picking up the pace recently, and I've been watching more movies as time has gone on. So I'm hoping next quarter I will be at my normal pace again. Just to put some numbers on that, last year I watched, according to my spreadsheet that I keep my stats in, I watched 155 movies last year. This year I've only watched 21, so I'm at a much slower pace than I was last year, but again, hopefully I'll pick that up as we go. What type of movies have I been watching? Well, because of the move, I didn't really get a chance to dig into the Oscar or the recent 2024, 2025 movies as much. Instead, what I've been doing is a couple watch projects. One in particular with a friend where we're going through our favorite 1970s movies and watching them and kind of trading our favorites with each other. And so I've been watching a lot of movies from the 1970s and then anticipating that in the future we might go to a decade that I was very underwatched on. Lately I've been on a tear where I've been watching a lot of 1930s movies, which are obviously very old at this point, but there's some gems in there. And it's my most underwatched decade except the 20s, which is very old movies, and there's just not as many to watch in that decade that have survived this long. So what I'm going to do on this video today is I'm going to run down the movies that I've seen in the last 3 months, and as I just described, it'll be primarily concentrated in the 1970s and 1930s. So, what have I watched? First, I watched a movie called Deep End. Deep End is a 1970s film. It's sort of like a psychosexual, not quite a horror movie exactly. It's not a horror movie. It's a little hard to describe. It's kind of got its own thing going on. A little coming of age, a little creepy, I don't want to call it romance, but like romantic tension. And it's just sort of like a tense psychological drama in a weird way. I didn't super vibe with it, to be honest, but I didn't dislike it. It just kind of sat on the screen for me. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which is the ranking system I'm going to use to describe these movies. Then I watched Brewster McCloud, which is an Altman movie from the 70s. It's about a guy who wants to learn to fly with, he's building like mechanical wings, and he wants to fly in the Houston Astrodome for some reason. It's very strange. He's got a muse. He gets up to a bunch of shenanigans. It's a very weird movie. And similarly to Deep End, I didn't quite vibe with it. It was a little too out there. I like weird out there movies, but this one was just a little too much for me. And so I also gave it a 3. Then I watched A Touch of Zen, which is a martial arts movie. I think wuxia is the correct subgenre to describe, and this was very good. It had great fight scenes, beautiful settings, a really compelling story kind of carrying the whole thing through. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Then I watched THX 1138, another 1970s film. This is by George Lucas. I think it was his debut film, if I remember correctly. And really, really liked this. Also gave it a 4 out of 5, but probably on the higher end of the 4 out of 5 spectrum. And the sound design in particular stood out here. It's kind of a future dystopia setup, like a society where people's emotions are suppressed through drugs. And Robert Duvall is he the? I don't remember if he's the lead or if he's the support. But yeah, anyway, Robert Duvall's trying to escape, and shenanigans ensue. 4 out of 5, great film. Then I tried to watch Pink Flamingos, and I did not get very far. That was just not my vibe at all. It was. I don't want to bash it because I know it has its supporters. Like, people really like that movie, but it didn't work for me at all, and I only made it about 20 minutes in before I turned it off. I gave it a 1 out of 5. Then I watched Cries and Whispers, which is a Bergman movie. Very good. I was a little not disappointed, but it had been so hyped for me that I was expecting to absolutely love it because I've loved almost. I've basically loved every Bergman movie I've seen, and this was like the most prominent one I hadn't seen. And I liked it. I liked it. It was good, but it was a little oppressive. I like Bergman in his more philosophical mode more than his like very oppressive emotional mode, and this was much more the latter. So I also gave it a 4 out of 5. Then I watched a movie called Malpertuis. It's got Orson Welles in it. It is like a haunted house horror movie. I didn't vibe with it at all. I really just did not take to this movie. It was very strange and kind of not well put together, I thought. So I only gave it 2 stars, 2 out of 5 stars. Then I watched The Third Part of the Night. And this was a really compelling World War II oppression in Eastern Europe movie. Really dark, really disturbing. I really, really thought it was well made and well put together, and I gave it 4 out of 5. Then I watched Daughters of Darkness, which was like a vampire romance horror, but not super horror movie. It was fun. Nothing super special, but it was an entertaining time. Gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. Then I watched The Music Lovers, which was a Tchaikovsky biography. I don't know if I said his name right, because I struggle with Russian names sometimes. It was okay. I don't super vibe with Ken Russell movies in my limited experience with him so far, and I gave this one just 2 out of 5 stars. There were things to appreciate there, but overall I found it a little plodding. Then I watched Across 110th Street, which is a blaxploitation film from the 1970s, and I really liked it. Like, I liked it a lot. Very good crime movie. A lot of good characters. Really set in that like grimy New York setting. I thought it was really, really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Now we get to the part of the video where I went on my 1930s tear, and I watched a bunch of these in a row. So I watched City Girl, which is a silent film from 1930, which is about a city girl who falls in love with a farmer and moves out to the country, and then finds out country life is not everything that it is, talked up to be, and sort of struggles in her role with some people who aren't the best out in the farmlands. It was good, but it was kind of paint by numbers. Obviously, if it's a 1930 film, it probably invented a lot of the tropes that I felt were a little tropey. But yeah, I liked it okay, but it didn't blow me away, and I only gave it 3 stars. Then I watched Earth, which was a very interesting Russian silent film about peasants dealing with the communist takeover, and bourgeoisie dealing with the communist takeover, I guess, out in the fields. I think it's in Ukraine. And I really liked the visuals in this movie. Like, I thought it was very, very well shot and very well cut together. I had a little trouble following the plot, but I didn't care too much about how much trouble I had following the plot because I found the visuals so compelling. It was a very, very good-looking film, especially for 1930, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I watched Little Caesar, which is just a gangster movie. It's just straight gangster movie. Very fun. Very entertaining. Pretty slight. Like it's not saying anything dramatically interesting about society. It's just doing gangster film tropes. But they're very well done. And I also gave this a 4 out of 5. This brings me to my favorite film of the quarter, which I watched a few days ago. This is Gold Diggers of 1933. This is a musical, a Berkeley musical that is absolutely wild. The musical numbers are choreographed insanely, as you would expect from Berkeley. The plot line is pretty fun and comedic and very sharp and well written and witty. And it also has a lot of commentary on the Great Depression and the effects of the Great Depression on people on all ranks of society, and some foreshadowing of the wars to come with the final number, not to give any spoilers, but for a 90-year-old movie. I loved this movie. I thought it was perfect. I thought it hit every note. It was beautiful. It was well staged. It was very well written. The performances are great. The plot is great. Everything about this movie worked for me. I give it a full 5 stars out of 5, which is a pretty rare grade for me. Then I watched The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, which is a Fritz Lang film. It was okay. It's sort of like a precursor to like a Silence of the Lambs style film where there's a mastermind criminal in a asylum who is like masterminding a bunch of crimes, and it's sort of like a police procedural trying to race his plans to prevent the crimes from happening. There's a lot to like here, but it fell a little, like in the second half, it just felt a little too procedural. And the problem with older movies is I think the one genre besides action that has been most improved with time is the thriller. I just think the techniques for making thrilling movies have gotten better, and so when it got into kind of thriller mode, I got a little bored. So I only gave it 3 stars. A lot of good stuff here, but it's sort of like the roots rock of psychological thrillers, but it didn't all work, in my opinion. Then I watched The Man Who Knew Too Much, the 1930s version. I've seen the 1950s version as well. This is a Hitchcock movie. It is kind of entertaining, but it definitely feels like a rough draft for a better movie that came later, which is what a lot of the commentary says on it as well. And there are things I like about it, but it's another one of these that, like, thrillers, I really struggle with old thrillers, and this was definitely a thriller, so I only gave it 2.5 stars. Then I watched Bride of Frankenstein, which was really pretty good. I gave it a ceiling because it's very campy and schlocky and silly, but it had a lot of pathos that I didn't expect. It was a very beautiful movie. The special effects are actually pretty incredible for 1930, 32 or 33, which I think is a 33 movie. And yeah, I give this 3.5 stars. I thought it was quite good. I was expecting just pure camp and schlockiness, and it had a lot of pathos and a lot to say about the human condition. And I liked it. Then I watched a modern movie for once. I snuck out to the theaters to see Memoir of a Snail, and really, really liked it. It wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be a little more in the like Marcel the Shell with Shoes On vein, like sort of a cute little movie about a little guy. But it wasn't. It was a coming of age story about these 2 kids in Australia who were having real struggles with their lives, and it was really kind of funny but sad and melancholic, and dealt with a lot of real deep struggle, like personal struggles of these 2 kids, and it was really touching and really well written and really funny, even though it was kind of dark comedy. So I give this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. Then I watched I watched A Night at the Opera, which is a Marx Brothers films. I don't vibe with the Marx Brothers at all. I don't know why. Their comedy doesn't work for me. And without the comedy, there's not much there. So I only give this 2 stars. If you like the Marx Brothers, you'll like this. I don't like the Marx Brothers, so I didn't like it. And then finally, last night, I watched The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, getting back to the 70s. This is sort of a dramatic art house movie about a fashion designer who's sort of struggling with her love life. And it's all set in one room, where a bunch of other women, friends, family members, lovers, kind of like parade through her life, and she sort of struggles with what she's dealing with them. It was a little overstaged for me and a little overdramatic, but the performances were good. The concept was good, so it kind of just averaged out to like a 3.5 out of 5 for me. I wanted to like it more than I did because I've liked the other Fassbender movie I've seen, which is Ali Fear Eats the Soul. But this one didn't quite work on that same level for me. And that's what I watched this quarter. Next quarter, I'll try to watch more movies and a little more variety, not just sticking to the 70s and 30s. Thanks for watching. Once again, as I always remind at the end of the video, you can buy my book, The Quantum Entanglement. It's available on Amazon, link in the description. Bye.